Too ill, they'll recognize real niggas still could star. You know the drill, against all odds. Been on that kill ever since small fry. Been on that drill ever since all eyes. Conquers that deal with the skills more. Yeah. Shout out to Marty and she gonna eat on the ride. Yeah, Jackson Geneva. He that's my nigga, JE that's my guy. He my big sister, the realest advice. Never stop writing, just give.
All right. Thank you for joining Son of Blunt Truths. I am Todd B. Harris. I'm here with my co-host Jamie. Everything, all the knowledge is poured out of my head. So, how's everything going? Is something else going? I'm alive. Alive is good. Alive is always good. All right. Nathan is not here so far. I haven't heard from him. So, Nathan, if you're listening, you need to, send me a message or send me something. I hope everything is okay. So maybe he'll be popping in soon. You never knew he was going to pop in here on the Blunt Truths. So we got a lot to talk about today. So let's do some good stuff first. This is kind of good, but it's informative. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So as some of you know, I lost a really good friend of mine to suicide a couple years ago, and it hasn't been easy, but since this is Mental Health Awareness Month, his wife is doing a little fundraiser for her birthday. Her name is Ashley, Ashle Tising, Tising. So if you want to donate to that fundraiser, go to her Facebook page and click on donate, and all the proceeds go to help out mental health awareness. So that's really a good thing. And suicide is a really big deal. You just don't ever know when anybody's going to do it or what someone's thinking. So we really want to increase the awareness of that. And, there's plenty of suicide prevention hotlines that you can call. Basically, if you start feeling a certain way, just ask for help. Hopefully before you try something, before you do something, just ask for help and reach out to somebody that might be able to help you. I don't know what it feels like once you get to that point where you actually want to do it. But if you've been thinking about it a lot, certainly ask for help, because that's important. All right, with that being said, I want to congratulate all the 2019 college graduates. That's a really good thing. It's really good that you guys are so persevering and getting through all the hardships and trials that might keep you from wanting to go to school. So it's great that you guys are graduating and hopefully do something great. Just remember the sky is the limit, so keep reaching. It's very, very good. The other thing is, okay, I just wrote it. We donated all the stuff to. Here we are. Yes. Good news for Morehouse graduates this year. Robert S. Smith, the billionaire, is lifting a tremendous burden for over 300 students at Morehouse by paying off their student loans. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. His name is Robert S. Smith. That is wonderful. Yeah. I can't think of a better graduation or a better start to someone's future.
I mean, being on Twitter, you run into so many different perspectives. And one that I did see try to emerge was what I call woke Twitter is Twitter that's just always mad about something. And this black girl, she was like, "Oh, the black." She called it the bourgeoisie. That's like the academic term for wealthy people. Mm-hmm. When you get into Marxist theory and all that stuff, and she was like, "Oh, that's the least he should have done when he's gotten all this wealth off the backs of people." And I was just like, this black man went to a historically black college and paid off an entire class's debt. And you're pissed off about the fact that he's a billionaire? If he wasn't a billionaire, he wouldn't have been able to do what he did.
So she did all this research on this guy and found out that's what he did, right? Probably not.
No, but it's just like you have some people on this planet that are just, they have to see something negative in everything.
They're unhappy.
Sure. Do I think that our system should allow people to go to school without accruing so much debt? Of course. Right. Of course, everybody can admit that, but you can still hold both positions. You can say, yeah, they shouldn't be in debt because school should be free for people to go to. That shouldn't be a barrier to anyone getting higher education, is that I can't afford it because it's so expensive. But when somebody with the means to do something like does that, and then you turn around and say, "Oh, that's the least they should do," well, you couldn't do it.
Right. And he didn't have to do it.
He didn't have to do anything,
No, not at all.
except for
He
give
didn't
his
have to do
speech
that.
and go home.
Right.
So for people to sit there and say, "Oh well, the black bourgeoisie, that's what they should be doing, and he could have did more," like you can't do anything.
Right.
So what are you talking for? Like I kind of get tired. I kind of get tired of a section of black people who think that, you know, other successful black people, it's almost like they should feel guilty for being successful.
Right.
Because the truth of the matter is we didn't create the system that we function in. So of course, if I could create a system where things were less, you know, unequal as far as income is concerned, I would do it.
Right.
But we live in the system we live in. That's just the reality. People can become billionaires.
It's kind of like making people feel guilty for not growing up a certain way, like all the little stereotypes that people have on TV about how black people should grow up. If you don't fit into that, then somehow it's an issue.
I mean, it's just it's exhausting.
Right.
I always it's exhausting to be a black person in this country, and that's because of other black people a lot of the times. Because you can't do anything right.
Right.
You reach a certain level of success, then black people say, "Oh, you think you're good," or "You should do more because you have this amount." Like you just being black is tiring. It just is. You can't make white people happy. You can't make black people happy. So it's tiring as hell. And that's why sometimes I understand why certain black people with certain needs, they disassociate themselves from a lot of things, because it's just like, I can't make nobody happy.
Right. Everything you do,
somebody is there. "Oh, well, you black and you should be helping your community." Black people cannot breathe, because if it's not white people doing something towards you, it's black people saying you're not doing enough for them. You can't breathe. You're suffocated every day. It's always something. You can't make anybody happy. So that really, to be honest, it pissed me off, because that man paid off. I had several parents come to my store yesterday, and they were ecstatic about it, because they were like, "I didn't know he was even going to do it."
Right.
People who came from the graduation was in that area, and they came in the store getting balloons and stuff, you know, to take to after parties or whatever, and they were just like, "He paid off my kid's debt."
But you know what? I don't care what the negativity behind his gesture. I care about the gesture. I don't care, nor do I even want to hear the negativity of people saying negative things about it, because what he did was a wonderful thing.
Right.
And no one can take away from that. I'm quite sure the graduates are appreciative. The parents of the graduates are appreciative. You know, it just makes things a little bit better. You don't have to have that struggle after you graduate. You don't have to have that debt after you graduate. So it's a good thing. So if you have something negative to say about his gesture, to hell with you. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear that. It is sad. Appreciate what the man did. I wish I could do something like that. And I wish somebody could do something like that for me. Everybody needs a helping hand at some point. So let's appreciate, Mr. Smith's gesture and what he did for the good that comes from it. And we'll leave it at that.
Seriously, you couldn't have waited a week,
right,
to write your think piece.
Exactly.
Like you had to do it on the day that it happened. Like you couldn't help yourself, because you're so bitter that you aren't where you want to be in life, that you have to look at that and say, "Oh, well, they shouldn't have. He should do more, and they shouldn't have had." Of course, like everything is an ideal in life.
I think it comes from a place where that particular person or those group of people aren't in that position to receive the gift that Mr. Smith is giving.
Right.
So certainly when I heard of it, I was like, man, I was at Morehouse graduating.
Right.
I mean, that's a normal thing, but to value what the guy has done is unacceptable. So, we're not going to devalue Mr. Smith. We're going to congratulate you and thank you, for what you've done, because that's a really great thing. So, what else? Can you fill up the Facebook accounts with your comments? Because toxic masculinity, that is our subject today. Toxic masculinity. Masculinity that is just poison. You can't breathe. You can't even see. Everything's foggy. Is that what toxic masculinity means? I know Brandon's already on there. Hi, Brandon. I don't have my glasses on, so he's going to have to be my eyes so around here somewhere.
Brandon said he set the bar. I hope others are inspired to do it. And he also said, that's right. 40 million in college loans for one class is foolishness. I guess he was responding to me saying that people shouldn't have to go to school under so much debt.
Right.
And then he also said crabs in the bucket mentality, which is very true.
Absolutely.
Very true.
We've got to get away from that because you're pulling people down as opposed to lifting people up, and that's what we want to do. We want to lift each other up. If you or some, I don't even want to be around people that want to pull me down. I have so much going on right now, just for me, that I don't need anyone trying to block me or pull me down. So if you have that attitude, you're not gonna like the way that ends, baby. So just let that go. So with that being said, toxic masculinity in psychology, it refers to traditional masculine norms that can be harmful to men and women and society overall. Related terms like misogyny, the hate or prejudice against women and girls manifest in social exclusion, sexual discrimination, and male privilege. And homophobia, which can be considered toxic due to their part in promoting of violence, like sexual assault or domestic violence, something like that. So, those kind of things. So that's our topic today. And then there's just so many ways you can go with that.
It's a whole lot of different ways.
The one that comes to mind first and foremost, which is on the front foot, is the whole abortion thing. You have a bunch of men, and I could be wrong, making decisions for women and what they should do with their body, and I don't think that's good. I know we all have our opinions, and heterosexual men play a role in that kind of thing, but at the end of the day, it's the woman's body, and they should have a choice. Maybe it should be regulated, but it should not be controlled.
That whole ordeal, it confuses me so much,
right?
Because it's normally based on, for the most part, it's normally based on religious grounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that confuses me as well, because a lot of people say, "Oh, God is against abortion," and I'm like, based on what? Well, he believes in life, and I'm like, based on what? I grew up in the church. My father's a pastor, just in case nobody knew that. So I know I personally study the Bible a lot on my free time, and when people bring up the fact that they say God is against abortion, I'm like, are you aware that there are entire passages in the Bible where God literally tells people to go and slaughter entire villages, including the babies? And he specifically says, kill everybody, the calves, everything in your sight, you kill it. And don't keep nothing. And this is throughout the Bible numerous times. When God sent his people, his chosen people, into new territories, he told them to kill people, including the children. Because children is lineage. Right. If the kids can grow up, then they can possibly come back and fight you. So when people bring the religious grounds and say, well, the Bible, I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to me, because you're saying God believes in life, but then in the same Bible, he's sanctioning mass murder of people.
Well, I mean, you can find anything that you want to justify what you do in the Bible. And in order to do that, that means you have to ignore certain things and certain
context.
Sections, right?
You have to ignore context.
So, even if you take the Bible out of the situation, I can't have an abortion.
Me either.
So I don't have an opinion on it, really. That's been my philosophy. I have my own personal thoughts on it, but since I can't have one, I don't feel like I can tell other people what to do. And it surprised me in Alabama that a whole bunch of people voted against it, and the woman governor had to sign off on it. I was pretty shocked behind that.
Nothing surprises me about anything that happens in the state of Alabama. It's Alabama.
Right, but
it's Alabama. That's all you need to know. It's Alabama. Alabama is the most ass backward state in this country. It's
right, but I'm sure even with that, yes, but there are people there that hopefully want to move forward and want things to change.
Alabama has a very large black population.
Yes,
it has a very large black population, but the powers that be are still very much so Confederate, and that's just period. And a lot of this abortion stuff is an arm of white supremacy. We can go into a deeper discussion about that if you want. Probably not now, but a lot of this abortion stuff is about the fact that this country is becoming minority majority, and it will happen. And they're trying to stop it because their birth rate is down. Their population is the only population in this country, the white population, that is decreasing in its birth rate. That's due to opioids. That's due to people not having children because they can't afford to have children. So it's a lot that plays into why you have these conservative white men pushing this anti-abortion agenda, because they know what's about to happen and what is already happening in this country. So they're doing everything that they can do to stop what's going to happen. And it's not going to stop it. So you can pass as many abortion laws as you want, but if people don't want to have children, guess what? They're going to do it the way they used to do it, which is to go to a back alley somewhere in somebody's house and get an unhealthy, unclean abortion.
I think the goal.
I'm pissed off. Because it's stupid. It's stupid, and I really don't understand it. I seriously don't understand why you care about what another human being does with their body that's not yours. Right. And these are supposed to be conservative people who say, the government needs to be out of our lives, and too much government is terrible for everybody, and the government shouldn't tell me what I should have to do. The government shouldn't be able to tell me I have to marry a gay couple or whatever, or perform marriages. Right. But when it's convenient, they'll say the government needs to tell other people that they can't do something. It's hypocritical, and it doesn't make sense.
I remember when President Obama was talking about mandating no insurance, and you don't know how many people I kept hearing say, "How did that make me have insurance?"
Yeah.
Just how is the government going to tell me that I have to have insurance?
That's what governments do. It's a government. That's their function. The government's function is to regulate and rule the citizenry. That's what they do. Right. So when people come up with this idea that the government shouldn't be able to tell me to do anything, well, then what's the point? What's the point of having a government if they just supposed to just sit there and just be a government? Well, that's what government does.
The government in its highest form is the epitome of toxic masculinity. We're talking about affecting men, women, social norms, society as a whole. That's what's going on. I mean, you have a bunch of men, mostly white, if not all white, and there's nothing against white people, but that's just the way it is, making decisions for everybody else, and it's self-serving. Mm-hmm. They're not thinking about society. They're not thinking about any of us. They're thinking about themselves.
Their interests.
We have a self-serving government right now, and that in itself is not a good thing. So when you talk about abortion, or when you talk about anything that affects society, you have to have the right amount of people in the room to have an accurate conversation. Representation, yes, to do that, and we don't have that. Mm-hmm. We don't have that. We have, you have
especially
people talking about minorities without any minorities in the room. People talking about what's good for Black Americans without any Black people in the room. Those things are not okay. And as long as that continues, that toxicity is going to continue to spread.
This is also why people have to have a better understanding of how government works, because this was done on a state level, which means that this was outside of national politics. Their entire state assembly is controlled and ran by conservative white men.
Right. So I'm not so much on. I want to kind of stick to.
Oh, sure.
You can go into
No, but I think it ties into it, because if we're talking about toxic masculinity and you have a bunch of toxic people running governments, this is what you get.
Yes.
So that's what I was going to say. You can't. It all ties into each other, because that's part of what's governing that state right now. It's just it's a mindset that just doesn't exist.
Okay, so bringing that down to out of the government, off the White House, off that street, down into our regular society, what does it take to have that a certain level of masculinity? I mean, what do you think people look for to be considered masculine?
Well, masculinity is subjective.
Okay.
Meaning, if you look up the definition of masculinity, it's traits or attributes that are normally given towards men based on society standards. Mm-hmm. So I tell people all the time, what's masculine in America might not be masculine in Germany, or what's masculine in Africa, in a certain country in Africa, mm-hmm. might not be masculine in Australia, because you have society around you constructing what masculinity is. Right. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not like you can list every trait that masculinity is, because it's subjective. Mm-hmm. It's just like you have Brandon, he was talking about the religious crusades alone. People use the Bible to justify many things that have different interpretations to different groups. And then he said if they use the Bible to control abortion, slavery is probably next.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also said toxic masculinity prohibits proper representation. I guess he was talking about when I was referencing.
Trey's agreeing with something that you said too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think masculinity is ABC. I think it's.
It's not if it's not one of your issues. Like if you don't have an issue with people thinking that you're not masculine or anything.
Right.
But you have people like if you go up to shake someone's hand and they practically crush your hand.
Yeah.
Trying to prove something. That kind of stuff.
That's stuff that you're taught. Go shake people's hand with the firm grip. But that's society.
Firm grip, not a vice grip. I mean, come on.
You're trying to prove that you're dominant.
Right.
That's what that is.
And that's the thing.
It's power play.
That's the thing with a lot of I always have there's like masculinity and heterosexual versus homosexual. You know, people, especially in Black America, a lot of homosexual males don't want to be considered feminine in any form, or like they overcompensate because they're feminine, or they have to walk a certain way, talk a certain way, or keep things hidden because they don't want to be considered non-masculine. It's like that's where that whole DL population starts to come around, and I'm not trying to say more fire because I'm point tonight. But I think that like when you read different like if you go to different dating sites and stuff, everybody has this list. Masculine men only. So like you got a masculine meter when you come to the house.
You still date dudes,
right?
So you don't really care. Like I don't at least, but I mean you don't have to prove yourself. Like you just don't. I mean because honestly, when I think about this stuff, because a lot of people, some people would say that I'm masculine, and some people think that I'm more, I'm feminine. I feel like I'm a mixture of both at times. Like I would say majority of the time I'm pretty masculine. Mm-hmm. But it's not something I think about. I'm just myself.
Right.
I'm not trying to do anything for anybody. What you see when you see me is what you get all the time.
Same way.
So I really don't care how you feel, to be honest.
And that's the thing. I was wondering who decides. I mean, is it really such a thing?
You do. You personally decide what masculinity is for yourself, because at the end of the day, you have people who are so consumed with the idea of masculinity that it becomes toxic because you're constantly trying to prove yourself and you're overcompensating.
Yeah, I used to work with these guys.
Looking crazy.
I used to work with these guys at this hospital, and they were all just jumping up and touching something, neck grabbing, kind of masculine, whatever you're supposed to be. So I decided I would try to be like that for a whole day. I think I lasted maybe 15 minutes. I was exhausted.
It's tired.
You have to watch how you walk. You have to watch how you talk, your gestures, every little thing. It's like they're watching you. They're watching, like the masculinity police is going to come and hit you over the head.
Do you know how much stress?
I'm
really serious though. Do you know how much stress Black men put on themselves to try to be a certain thing?
I can imagine.
It is literally unhealthy.
It has to be unhealthy.
It's unhealthy.
I mean, you're constantly
stressing yourself out for no reason.
You're constantly putting on a show. Just be yourself.
Right.
Because I know a lot of really Southern white men. They come across as feminine because of their just the way they talk or their gestures. And people take them the wrong way. And then when you find out that
they got married with kids, they're like, what? Yeah,
there's no way.
He's got 7 kids.
Okay, so first of all, people aren't gay unless you're sleeping with the same sex.
That's
it. Really don't have anything to do with how you hold your hair or how you walk.
Wait until people find that out. Wait until people figure that out. Because you have a lot of men who are more feminine that love women and they love women.
Right.
Being feminine does not mean, first of all, that's a whole nother, I'm not even going to because that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Because a lot of people take femininity as a negative.
Right.
Which is a whole nother topic. Femininity is not negative. It's just a different energy. It's not negative. Because when you have too much of anything, then it becomes bad because it's too much. you have a balance, or it's overpowering. So you can be effeminate or feminine and still love women.
Right.
So masculinity also has nothing to do with your sexual orientation.
Right.
You can't tie those together because you have gay men who are very masculine.
Right.
You would never know that they were homosexual, but you have straight men who you have you have men who are very feminine. It will take your girlfriend if you left them around them.
Right.
Because they can relate to
exactly.
Them. So it's just.
So people looking at things in the wrong context, like you said, it's a matter of who you are.
Right.
Just be yourself. Brandon says he's attracted to that feminine, masculine. It doesn't even matter. Just be yourself. And I think at the end of the day, we want people to be themselves. Because if you start going out with somebody, or because you think they're putting on this. The first time they let that go, you can't do it 24/7. The first time they show a different side of themselves, you're gonna have a problem.
You're like, who is that?
Right.
That's why I don't.
You see people on Instagram, like
and you meet them in person,
right.
You be like,
they have these pictures just so hard. Look like they probably just popped out of jail somewhere, like little hard prison pictures, all down on the ground. I can't even, and then when you listen, hey,
you're like, excuse me. Not because you're mad about it, but because you're taken back because what they put out on social media is not how they are in person.
And that's what I think might get to people, the fact that you're pretending to be something that you're not. If you're not a big old masculine, jumping up, hitting the sign, grabbing that kind of dude, don't present that, because that's not who you are, because you're not going to hold on to that. And when you present yourself, when you present that package to somebody else, that's what they're going to be expecting. And if you don't have that, that's not who you are, they're going to be upset. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, be careful for what you ask for. Because if you're, especially in the gay community, if you're a dude and you're looking for that dude, that masculine dude, you're going to have to be able to deal with that. If you're not that masculine dude asking for what you want, you might get something that you don't want. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Be careful with that.
Yes, be careful what you ask for.
Things have implications and consequences.
And with women want men to be strong and masculine and kill the bugs and do that kind of thing. And then the first time they want them to be sensitive. I feel like I'm designing women. And then they want them to be sensitive and caring and nurturing and all that other stuff. And the first time it's over. Get on the phone, probably talking to all the girls. Oh, he cried, honey. Man cried. And
he was a human being.
Right.
He was a human being.
Yes.
He emoted emotion.
Right.
The nerve of him to use his natural ability.
Exactly.
To cry. Wow.
Yes, guys, it's okay to cry. Most of the guys I know cry. They don't.
He's stuck up.
Right.
Stopped up emotionally.
We all pent up.
You like me.
I can't. What does that say? Brandon was somewhere.
It said on Instagram it's what up, but in person it's hey sis. Very much so.
Very well said.
Very much so.
It is. And I don't know, like a lot of the guys on my Instagram I know personally, and I know I don't care. I don't care. You can do the whole selfie thing and portray yourself as freaking be all end all big nut master of the universe for all I care. I don't. It doesn't bother me. But you have to deal with what you put out. Mm-hmm. So if you can't stand behind it or you can't support it, don't put it out there.
Because I know even personally a lot of people who follow me on social media, they or even people who just run across me, they always say I'm a certain way. But when they interact with me, I'm not what people perceive. Mm-hmm. So but I can't do anything about that.
Right.
Because it's not something I'm trying to change. I'm just myself. So unless you're mad, I'm just chilling. If I'm mad, you're
right. Absolutely.
But
you're in the room.
That's how it is. So I don't know. I remember one day I was at work and I was ringing up this guy's groceries and he bought a bunch of baking stuff. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, what he was baking. He was like, I don't bake. This for my girl. I was like, bro, all you had to do was say, I don't bake, and that would have been the end of the discussion. But you felt so disrespected that you went out of your way to explain, this is for my girl. And masculinity on things that have no Neither of them. A
Right.
pot. You cracking some eggs, putting it in a pot, mixing some stuff together, and putting it in a hot ass oven.
Right.
What is feminine or masculine about that?
Along with vacuuming the floor and cleaning the bathroom. Give me a break. Doing housework. I mean, that's not a master. People have roles that they grew up with in society, but someone tells you that you shouldn't do this, you should do that. Some of the best cooks in the world are men. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
I'm just like, let you know right now.
Les cordons bleus.
Les cordons bleus. Yep.
That's right.
So
I don't know. I just feel like it's life is too short to burden yourself with stuff that just doesn't matter.
it's
just
peer
doesn't matter.
It's peer pressure, and the sad thing is that some guys will go way too far to prove that they're masculine, and that's when the assault and that's when the violence comes into play.
You know what's really interesting about that is men who care about what other men
Right.
care about them, think about them so much.
Yes.
That's not odd to you. It's a whole bunch of men who will literally not wear certain clothing
Right.
because they feel like other men will say something about it. They won't act a certain way. They won't wear their hair a certain way. You're consumed with another man's thoughts about you,
Right.
which doesn't make sense.
I always put them as they're so open and just they just say whatever.
Mhm.
So the things that they like or that they don't care.
They don't. Men,
They don't care if you're wearing a pink shirt. They like
They
that.
don't care.
They want you to be nice and
I
clean
got
and
into
neat.
a conversation with somebody one time about how I dress because I dress. You know how I dress.
Mhm.
Even my work clothes, even though it's a uniform, I present it a certain way.
You do well too.
Who's just like, oh, why is this like that? And I'm like this, like that. I said, do you know how many women come up to me and compliment me every day about how I'm dressing? I said, so do you really think I give a damn about how another man, thinks about my clothing? Mind you, I'm gay, so it's just like he didn't know that at the time.
Right.
So I was just like, why are you so concerned about what I have on? When women compliment me every day, all day about my clothing, they tell me how nice I present myself. But you're worried about what I got on and you're supposed to be distracted.
Right.
What is that? Why do you care so much? I don't understand it.
I think that a lot of guys look for, even though they're looking for acceptance and approval, they're also looking for, they want to be able to be themselves and want men to think that it's okay for them to be themselves. But to get to that point, you have to have a lot more self-confidence.
Well, they do it.
They're not going to do it until they meet someone, another guy that's probably most likely going to be gay. That's not going to be so judgmental. Then you can just be yourself, because around certain people you can just be yourself. You don't have to put on that extra masculine leader or just walk around being the big ape all the time. You don't have to do that. I'm not saying that heterosexual men are apes, because I don't want to hear any backlash on that. I'm just saying that whole big. What?
You called me an ape.
Right. That's not what I mean. I don't mean ape. Like, I mean that big, always feeling like you have to prove yourself. I mean, the few minutes that I try, and I don't know. I think I tell a pretty decent lie. I think because I'm built the way that I am, like a lot of people think that I'm a cop or something. I get that a lot. But I don't care, because I don't really change at all. I'm the same way. So, and I don't really think about it. When I'm walking at work, I don't think about how I'm walking. Some of my mental turn me on, like, because I walk with a vengeance. I have an answer for everything. Oh, yeah. So, that's like, I got, this, and that was a Beyonce reference. I knew that. Mm-hmm. She's not one of my favorites. I still, I have some things that she does that I do like, so that's a good thing, and that's one of those things. Mm-hmm. And I like that song too, because I like the vengeance.
It's a very nice beat.
It is very good beat. So, but so the thing is, we want people to be able to be themselves. I know people. I've seen people that I feel like they want to go down on this particular road, but their thoughts are so consumed with guilt and pressure from others that if they did that, the weakness that would come out of them would make them violent. They consider that a weakness and it would make them violent, and that's not okay. So you have to be careful, even with women. I mean, women, if you're emasculating men some kind of way, they don't you have to be careful. Always putting them down and always, trying to strong arm them and stuff because you don't know what kind of mindset they're in. Once if they feel like they're cornered or being, what's the word? I said it nicely. In any kind of way, that the response can be violent. So you have to be careful about that. So we definitely want, to keep that on the forefront because it's important. It's important that people know that you don't have to be the most masculine thing on. There's no such thing, for one. There's no such thing as being masculine enough or not too masculine or whatever. That's when it does get toxic. When you're so into what other men think about you, you end up panicked, or you end up with like the Congress or whatever, whoever's running the house. I saw. I looked at the Congress, the government one time, and I saw this picture. I think it was the House and the Senate, they were all together. And then I went back and looked at a picture of the Salem witch trials. Not much has changed. Not much has changed at all. You still have a bunch of white men telling everybody else what to do. And that's not okay. That's what we're trying to change. And, there's a big election coming up. And I'm not trying to get into politics again, but there's a huge election coming up. So we want things to change. I'm just letting you know, walking up and down the street with a sign does not change anything. It gets your voices are heard, and that's a great thing. And the fact that you're protesting, that's a wonderful thing. But what changes stuff is when you get to the ballot box and vote. You have to vote. Use your voice while you're pushing that button, or pushing those buttons and voting the right people in, while simultaneously getting the wrong people out. Because that's what we want to do. That's how things change. Right. This is simple. Is that right?
So women dress to impress other women. Well, yeah, women dress to impress other women.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not trying to be brash, but we're talking about toxic masculinity as far as what males do. So of course women dress to impress other women. But even then,
I see the connection because women dress to impress other women. That's okay. Yeah. But men do it the same. Men do the same thing. They just don't. They're just not as out front with it as women are. Women get their hair done and their lashes, and they'll get to work. Oh, you look so good, and huggy, kissy. Men will do the same thing. Men will put on a brand new pair of Jordans, and you want somebody to say something about it. They do. Yeah, or you want to come out the bar shop and you have this fresh cut. You want somebody to say something about it. And it's not necessarily your girlfriend. You want your boys to recognize it. And whatever codes you guys decide to use to recognize, that's cool, brother.
I mean, that's human nature. But I'm talking about when you go to the length where you won't wear something or you won't do something that you want to do because you're worried about what another man is going to think about you. That's when you get into a toxic area. Listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be complimented for wearing something new or for getting a better job. Or, of course,
if your masculinity within yourself is questionable, are you going to be able to receive here and more, than a guy coming from the barbershop? I think black men that you're all edged up and cleaned up, you have your goatee and your hair is all lined up, or even if you're bald, you got a fresh shave and everything. It's a good look, So there's nothing wrong with that. And there shouldn't be any wrong. People should get used to complimenting each other things about people, and you may learn something about yourself along the way. I mean, that's how it is. Women seem to have it down pretty good. I don't know what the guys' problems are.
Because I don't think women are competing for, generally speaking, I don't think women are bogged down by what men are bogged down by. Like, nobody is going to call a woman. Like, what is the comparison in the female world of what men do? I mean, I'm trying to articulate this properly because I don't want it to come out sound crazy.
I think I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's just I don't think women even in a general context think about. Of course, other women think about what they wear and how other women are going to respond to them. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's coming from. Well, I'll take that back. They probably do. I don't know. I don't think it gets into a toxic area. As I don't know. Of course, people within the same gender, they compare themselves and say, oh, I wonder what my other female friends say about this. But I don't know. I think it's different for me. I just do.
Yeah, it's definitely
because of how society is set up. It's just certain things that men are not supposed to do. That if women do it, it's not seen as weird. Like, women can be affectionate toward each other in public, not like sexually, but just be more affectionate than men can be with each other, and they aren't assumed to be lesbians or to be sleeping around with each other, or for that to be weird. But if men do it, it's just like, oh, what's going on there? Or that's weird. So that's what I mean in that context of it's just certain things that society expects of men that they don't really impose on them, generally speaking.
Well, hopefully we're seeing a small change now, because I think a lot of guys are becoming a little more affectionate towards each other. I've seen a lot more hugging, a lot, and of course it has to start with the handshake. Put the hand out first, and then embrace. That kind of thing. It can't be like
No, me and one of my coworkers, we like bear hug every now and then. Yeah. So I mean, there's certain people on this planet that just don't care about certain things.
Right. People that are comfortable with themselves and don't really care. They don't have those same issues. It's a freeing kind of thing when you know who you are, you don't care what other people think, and you're able to just move on. I think that's what people want. That's what generally everybody wants. You want to just be able to be yourself, whoever that is. As long as you're being happy and healthy and not, putting little squirrels in your freezer or something, it's okay.
But no, I also think we need to stop telling people to be themselves, and then when they are themselves, we have an issue with it. You can't have it both ways. Like you said, you can't want a man to be strong and want him to understand emotion, but then when he shows emotion, now all of a sudden he's weak. Or he's like, society has to stop it.
And you throw it in their face. The first time you get angry with them, the first thing you do is bring up the fact that the brother cried in front of you. You can't do that.
He sure did.
You can't do that. So
then when he's a brick wall, you'll understand nothing.
You don't show no emotion. You just sit there. Well, honey, I cried a couple months ago, and you still throwing it in my face, so I'm not going to cry anymore. Right. But all that stuff's gone. Yeah. I think people are happy when you have that balance. You can share emotion, share the experience with each other. You don't want to hug a brick wall all the time. Sometimes you want someone to be softer, so you can understand them, and you know that they understand you. It's the kind of thing that makes the world go round. So, of course, we want, if you're watching this, we want you to share our video, share our show as much as possible, so we can reach a wider audience. We're streaming live now on YouTube, so we have the YouTube camera on as well as the one on Facebook. If you're interested in being on the show, or you have something that you want me to promote, please instant message me or call me if you have my number, or email me. However you feel like you can get in touch with me, let's do that. Right now we're doing a free sponsor kind of thing. So if you have something going on and you want us to promote it, right now it's free. So just send me a message and let me know. Send me pictures and I'll show them. Send me music and I'll play it. The artist that you hear at the beginning of the show is Mac AAO. He's one of my favorite hip hop people and a really good friend. I asked him for a song for the show, and he sent it to me immediately without any question, without anything. That's what people do. That's how you help each other move up. That's not a crab in the barrel. That's someone that's pushing me up, and I'm pushing him at the same time. So that's awesome. Also on Instagram, his cousin is also Mac. If you happen to catch him, he is doing a lot of little videos singing on there. He has an amazing voice, and he sings on a lot of Mac stuff too, so they're both Mac, but I know Mac AAO is Ron. But his cousin or brother Mac is kind of confusing, but he's on Instagram a lot too. So really, really beautiful voice, amazing voice. So definitely check them out. If you're in Atlanta and you want to know what to do, you want to know where to go, you're looking for a particular atmosphere, environment, contact Oni in the city. She's on Instagram. It's Ony, O-N-Y, in the city, and she'll be able to direct you on what you need to do, and hopefully get your needs met as far as your event experience, or your restaurant experience, your general entertainment experience. She's pretty good at that. She has some videos on Instagram also, so check her out, and she'll be able to help you out. Sean Michael event planning. If you need a wedding done or a party or something, he's pretty good at that too. So contact him on Facebook, and he'll be able to help you out, or send me some information, and I'll get it to him, and we can do that too. So anything that you're doing, we're promoting. So the goal is to lift people up. That's what we need to start doing. We need to help each other out more. Stop all the damn complaining, and let's try to move in the right direction. That's what we need to do. All this extra. So if somebody does something good, all of a sudden somebody complains. You know what? I challenge you to start researching all those negative things that people on Facebook put on there, and you'll see a difference. You'll see that the information that they're putting on there is not always as accurate as they're portraying. Because I remember last week when, or a couple weeks ago, when they talked about this black man that got 12 years for kissing somebody. That wasn't the case. When I did the research on the case, he actually admitted to raping that young lady, and the consequences went from there. I think what happened is they actually did not have intercourse. That was the thing, but there was a lot of admitted assault that went on before that. So there was a lot more to it than that. And every state has a different way of handling stuff. So you're talking about one guy in New York that gets a different consequence than somebody where this guy was. So you can't just throw everything in the same box and expect people to go with it. You have your own voice, you have your own mind, so use that. Step outside of the box and get information. I do a group every morning at work called Get Information. That's what you guys need to do. Start getting information and learning better, learning how to be better and be happier, be more content with yourself, and don't let anybody throw you in a box, because that's not okay. With that being said, we have a little segment now called I'm Not Hating on You for Doing It, but I Don't Want to See It. That's my new thing. So there's been some things, even before I get to that, I want to talk about these skateboards, these birds or lines or whatever's going on, because these things are dangerous. I have almost hit somebody. Well, I guess I did hit him turning into my driveway the other day. He had to put his hands on my car to keep me from running over him. Now, if I'm turning left into my driveway from the highway and crossing traffic, you're going on your little skateboard the opposite way. I can't see you. So if you see my car, you need to stop what you're doing and let me pass. Because if you don't, I'm not hating on you for riding a little skateboard, but don't hate on me if you get hit, because it's not my fault. Well, because technically it probably would be my fault, but you be the one that's hurt, so you need to pay more attention. All of you guys are riding these birds and line lights and all these things around. Please be mindful of those
scooters. Now they got bikes everywhere.
Big grown-ass people on scooters is odd enough, but if you're going to do it, please be careful. Don't just ride in or out of traffic. Obey the stop, the caution lights and everything. Do your part by keeping yourself safe, because people that are driving, we have enough to look at. I mean, we already have the crazy Uber and Lyft drivers that stop anywhere the hell they want to, anywhere, any spot on the road, just stop and let people off. We have to watch them, and people that, turn left from the right lane. What you have to do, people walking across the street that aren't in the crosswalks, there's a lot of things that we have to don't make you part of that list. Do your part and keep yourself safe. I get information. That's what it's all about. Excuse me. So, did you come up with something?
Yeah, but it's hard going to tonight.
We have a few minutes. Do it.
And I feel like I do every
the past couple of weeks. I mean, you took us there, so it's okay.
I just, when it's just about. I'm heavy in politics. Everybody knows that, but it's just I'm at a point, especially in this primary, where I don't have time for people brazenly hypocritical. You have Joe Biden is the front runner right now. Right. And the issue that's blocking him right now is the 94 crime bill. The crime bill is what people attribute to a sharp increase in mass incarceration.
Okay.
The crime bill was a response to record levels of criminal activity in the late 80s and early 90s. The crime bill didn't fall out of the sky. The crime bill was a piece of legislation that Congress unanimously, with both parties, by a majority, passed the crime bill, including like 80 to 90% of the congressional black caucus. Black caucus in Congress. The crime bill included some things that people now look at as an overreach, like mandatory minimums, incentivizing states to keep certain people in jail for longer for certain offenses. I'm not saying that the crime bill was a great thing, because honestly, it did contribute to what we now recognize as mass incarceration. But if you don't look at things in context of why they happened, then if you're looking today, you'll say that's terrible. But if you look at the context of what was happening in communities, especially our communities, the crime bill was something that a lot of people, especially black people, wanted. So now that every time he does an interview, they bring up the crime bill. So people are mad at him for that now. So you have particular people who are like, oh, I'm not voting for Joe Biden because of the crime bill. And you have a particular person, his name is Sean King, he's on Twitter. He's a very interesting person.
Mm-hmm.
But he pushes Bernie Sanders a lot. So he tweeted out comparisons of Bernie Sanders talking about the crime bill and Joe Biden talking about the crime bill. Bernie Sanders voted for the crime bill because the crime bill at that time was included in what's called an omnibus bill. An omnibus bill is a very large bill that includes a bunch of stuff. It's like a mega bill. It had the Violence Against Women Act. It had all this stuff for communities. It had all this stuff. So Bernie Sanders voted for it, but whenever people bring up the fact that he voted for it, they say, well, he only voted for it because it included the Violence Against Women Act, which is not true. Because Bernie Sanders in 2006 ran for Senate in Vermont, which he's now currently considered. He bragged about his vote for the 94 crime bill and listed programs and tough on crime policies from the crime bill that he's so called hated. My thing is, don't be so loud and wrong.
Okay.
And then when somebody confronts you with facts, then you get into a whole nother tangent and personal attacks and just being rude.
Okay.
Like if we're having a debate and I point something out to you, and because you now realize that you're pretty much wrong about the situation, don't then get brazen and just start going on personal tangents and doing unnecessary.
That's called deflecting.
Yes. I hate that.
Yes.
Like
do
don't let me see you do that. Right. If I see you do that, I'm gonna be pissed off. Because I see that a lot. Like people don't like to recognize when they're wrong.
So we should parlay that into our little discussion. I'm not going to hate on you for being loud if you don't hate on me for telling me that you're wrong. Basically.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yes.
So you can be the loudest voice in the room, but if you're wrong, you're wrong. Accept the fact that you're wrong. So definitely get information before you decide you want to be the loudest voice in the room. And also with that, I had the homeless people, I call them hobos, and it's okay. I do that. They're getting a little more bold. They're not just staying on the corners asking for money anymore. They're walking through cars and actually coming up and knocking on your window and asking you to roll your window down. I'm not hating you for doing that. Just don't hate on me for pepper spraying you if you do. Because I don't want you to get too close. That's all I'm saying. That's the way that works. So
I think that's the important thing. They're getting pretty advanced with it. It's like I see them walking onto the highway, like passing signs from each other, like, "Oh, it's your turn.
Right.
Your shift starts at 7."
And I've heard, like just coming to the hospital, I've heard some of them say that they can make $300 or $400 a day.
Oh yeah.
panhandling on the street. That's why when there's a big event at Piedmont Park or somewhere nearby downtown Atlanta, there's hardly anybody in the hospital because they're panhandling. That's where everybody's out.
I had a crazy story at my job, and basically, to make a long story short, this guy and his family, they came to my job to get some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So his wife was getting like hair care products or whatever. She was checking out the line, and I just went outside to look outside. You know, when you're front service staff, you have to make sure outside is fine. That way, you need to tell anybody to do anything. So I just stepped outside, and you can't ask for money or what they call loiter in front of our store, or like what's the word they use? Well, anyway, basically ask for money in front of the store. Yeah. So he had a sign, and I guess he saw me coming, and he tried to hide the sign, and I was like, look, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just asking you, like, you can't do that in front of the store. And I told him, I said, I wasn't even coming out here to look for you, but you trying to hide the sign. I see the sign now. You got your daughter standing here asking for money. Like, can you just, like, you can't do that out here. So he starts cursing me out. And then he told me God was going to kill me.
Oh, wow.
Make a long story short, this man's wife was in line buying stuff. She walks out, and they get into a brand new Honda Odyssey. Like, one of the, it was obviously new because it was at least a 2016, 2017. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's just a shame. That's sad. So I know for a fact that people do that, and they make plenty of money. Like, you have a sign saying, I need help, and then you get in your brand new Honda van.
I think they average it between $20,000 and $25,000 a year, or sometimes more, up to $30,000 never heard. If you're in LA. So that's okay. I mean, everybody, you know, when you give to someone, you give from your heart. What they do with it, it's up to them. But you know,
but if I see you,
I just don't
see you
have just doing what I do. I have very little patience for that now. So anyhow, the other thing I had was Instagram. If you were going to videotape yourself on social media, say something. Don't just put the camera on your face and make all these little faces.
Oh, yeah.
Don't say anything.
Silent,
I'm not hating you for doing it.
Glare.
I just don't want to see it.
The silent Make sure you get the good angle.
Right.
Your good silent.
You know, so that's what it is saying. The people do it a lot. And, you know, I go to social media to find information, to find out what people are doing. And, you know, there's a lot of vanity going on there. People hate to be called vanity, but there's so much of that going on. It's just the whole.
I mean, that's part of the concept of social media.
I mean, I get it. But, you know, if you are that person, I mean, don't be upset about it. Just, you know, own it. You know, my thing is I want to get information. I can see what people are doing. I don't want to see just your face, you know, with nothing coming out of it. I don't know what that means, I guess, when you're just on there and all you're showing is your face and you're holding the camera or you're looking in the camera and all you're doing is posing. I'm not sure what that means.
I look good, Todd. That's what that means. I look good today.
Oh, so I should go on there and type in "you look good."
You look good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's what that is.
Because every time I've taken a selfie and put it on, like "Good morning" or "Happy Wednesday" or something, or something, you know, just. I mean, I guess it's a little vanity so people can see how cute I still am. Yeah. No filters. Yeah. Except for this.
Yeah, that's another thing. Y'all need to stop with these filters. Please.
You know, I don't have a problem with filters.
We know it's a filter.
The thing is, if you don't look like that in person,
nothing
on that. Somebody put a ruler right there, just perfectly lined. And then I saw him in person, not so much. And he looked familiar.
I was trying to reconcile it too.
And I was like, you look familiar, but I'm not sure who you are. So I didn't say that, but then I went home and looked at him, and I was like, oh, that's who that is. What does he say?
I guess Brandon's guilty of this kind of behavior.
Call me Mr. Vain. I love that song. Brandon, I don't see you doing that very often. But call me Mr. Vain. That sounds really good. I think I have heard it. I don't remember listening to it though. But yeah. So give me some information. I want to learn just like everybody else wants to learn too. So With that being said, I get to share our show as much as possible, spread the word around. We have some big things coming up, and I'm not going to talk about them today, but as I get more information, I'm certainly going to share it with you. And keep your eyes on us because things are changing, and the more involved you become with the show, things go really big. Everything starts from the ground up. So if you're that person that needs a price tag attached to everything, even though you're really not doing a whole lot, I don't need you because we're trying to make something. We're trying to make something grow. We're trying to make something happen. Although I am looking for a photographer, Ashley, if you're watching, I'm Spade. I am looking for a photographer to shoot the cover of my next book. So if you know someone that's interested in doing that, it is a paid thing, so it's not something I'm trying to get for free, but I do want someone that's real open because it's a vampire novel, so I need somebody that can do some good stuff. So if you know somebody or if you're interested in that, definitely get at me and let me know. Contact me on social media so we can make some arrangements. I have concepts for my next book cover, but I can't take pictures, so I need your help in that aspect. So spread the word and have somebody get in contact with me. And do you have anything else? Wait, what is that? Are you? Oh. Yeah. I don't have my glasses on. Actually, I just noticed that my glasses are gray. And they're sitting on my gray bedspread. This is my house. And I just noticed them sticking out. I was sitting over there looking since the show started to see if that was actually them. I think they are. That's the way they are. So that's okay. So anyhow, you have anything? No more comments, no more soapbox stuff, no more nothing. I was getting started, but it's a time thing. So thank you for joining us on The Blunt Truths, and until next time, keep your eye on us. I don't know what next time is going to be, but we'll definitely get it out there. And so until then, we'll see you next time.